My name is Shirley Self, and I'm here to talk astrology. Tonight I wanted to talk about the journey of the soul. And here we have the mansions of the moon, on the moon phases, on the zodiac. And we're talking about moon phase 1 tonight. This separation between the sun and the moon for moon phase 1 can be as great as 12 degrees, 51 minutes, and 26 seconds. And that's a waxing moon, a new moon, not a waning moon. So if your moon is that close to the sun, you are a moon phase 1. And this Aries is so appropriate for moon phase 1 because it very much describes the new will. Innocent, new will, innocent and eager. There's here a new will to be, a new will to become, a new goal. New phase 1 is, Yeats said, physical manifestation of spiritual perfection. Physical manifestation of the spiritual of perfection achieved in the whole previous cycle. This is a united being, united in the brain. The solar and the lunar brains are working together. It's a high spiritual charge because of the soul last progressing through the fire quarter here. High spiritual charge, high spiritual authority over themselves. They are here in a static state of perfection. This is the crossing phase from fire to earth. And it's a reorientation, refocusing from fire or spirit to the physical body. This is the physical quarter, the earth quarter. And this is where the will, our new will here, discovers and educates those new gifts that have been carried to him by the energy of the Demogorgon, which powers the sun. That energy has new proclivities, new orientations, new talents, new potentials that it is going to bring to this already wise soul here. Is going to discover and educate this wrath of the Demogorgon on the physical level here. Finding new physical potentials, new physical talents. The conflict is the fact that these people up here in the Merlin quarter are the wild men, wild women. They have a very low regard for the sanctity of the physical, as in we've got my favorite crash test dummy, Evel Knievel, right here. Who broke everything he had. Chuck Yeager, who broke the sound barrier. He might, I think, be a saint also here. So these people were hell-bent on breaking barriers, breaking through all sorts of limitations that have been placed on the human on every level, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. These are pioneers pushing the bounds of human possibilities, capabilities. And so they do. Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier. Evel Knievel broke everything else. But so the spiritual nature of Moon Phase 1 is not used to holding the physical in high regard. So this is a problem. Let me do the Kabbalah here. Got the Kabbalah here. This is Golden Dawn, snake upon the tree. And so Moon Phase 1 His spiritual nature is up here, but he's living down here. This is definitely a fall from perfection. He is living down here. And fortunately, he has the moon, to the instincts of the moon to guide him. Strong, powerful spiritual instincts. And physical senses to guide him. He's very vulnerable to the physical because he's so, he said, plastic to the environment. He is vulnerable to the environment. He needs to follow the guidance of his senses to keep him safe in this new environment. The physical senses needs to, the physical senses are his protection because he so believes, and he pretty much believes whatever the culture is around him. He follows it, he believes it, and if it were not for his physical senses, he would eat, drink, smell, and wear whatever people told him was perfect, even though it might be, he might be allergic to it, or believe that insecticide is not going to poison you, just the cockroaches. That's dangerous. And the fact that the sense of smell will tell you that thing you've got there for the cockroaches is not good for you. And so there's a reorientation. The physical is to guide our new will. Moon phase 1. Physical senses are his protection, her protection. And also here, a new desire must grow. Desire is all fulfilled up here at the Magus. Desire is used up. And so here, while he's learning to pay attention to his senses, the will must develop a new desire. It must get bored with being perfect and desire to experience life. When you step off into the next, step off into your the adventure, the heroic adventure, you're going to lose that perfection. You're going to step off into the unknown. Hard to be perfect in the unknown. You're perfect in the known, perhaps, but so that perfection here must get boring before the will is willing to head off into the adventure. And this can take a few lifetimes. It can cause a certain amount of deterioration in perfection of moon phase 1 before it moves off. What needs to happen is there in this shifting universe here. Here we are. Notice she's dancing. And moon phase 1 must learn to dance without falling down, without losing his spiritual integrity, and while maintaining moral integrity. And moral integrity, Yeats says, morality is honor paid to the physical environment of the soul, actually. But it is honor paid to the physical. And until phase 2 recognizes, or phase 1, I'm sorry, phase 1 recognizes that the physical is spiritual and important, and learns to follow his instincts and pay attention to his senses, can take a couple of 3 lifetimes. The mask of moon phase 1 is, well, you know, the moon phase is put on the ascendant, and so the mask of moon phase 1 is over there on the descendant. And Moon phase 1 desperately needs a relationship, because the phase is so static and so passive that it wouldn't get you out and do anything unless and have a relationship to invite them to the movie. Let's go learn this and do that. And it will, relationship will pull moon phase 1 out of its static perfection, state of perfection in front of the TV or wherever, and into life, and jog it and give it some desire, develop some interests. So the descendant is what Yeats called the mask, and it is by the means or the use of the mask that a phase is made successful, can be successful. And if you know astrology, you know that just because you have planets over there in the 6th and 7th house doesn't mean that you don't own them. And if you don't own them, other people will throw them at you and hurt you with them. So best to own them, because they're your power, and they're virtually your power to succeed, because they bring you into balance. So for moon phase 1, as long as he makes moral choices in favor of the physical body, in favor of respect and honor to the physical body, he will be lucky. He will, and I use the word he because I'm talking about the will. The education is of the logical mind here, the will, and he is the hero, the adventurer. And so we've got some very interesting moon phase 1s. They're so static, and you don't find a lot of them famous. Eisenhower was picked out of, was a moon phase 1, was just at the right place at the right time. Moral choices bring luck. Agatha Christie was a moon phase 1, and her use of, here, I've got her horoscope here. This is Agatha Christie. The information is 15 September 1890, 4:30 a.m., Torquay, England. Okay, so you see Agatha's got a glorious, a beautiful grand trine in air. But it is her use of her descendant, the Pisces over there. It is the use of the descendant, environment. She she worked in a pharmacy during World War II, and learned all about poisons from a friend, and because she was a studious person, grand trine in air. And her second husband was an archaeologist, and so she traveled she traveled by train to the Near and Far East, and and so from her, because her husband led her out of her static stance, she was educated and able to write those incredible stories. Let's look at this horoscope again. It's kind of interesting. Those incredible stories, that's a Pluto-Neptune up there on the midheaven in Gemini. And it's got the North Node there. And that's that up. And it's square to Saturn. And so that's the murder mysteries, murder mysteries. And the work, the technical work that she was capable of putting into there, and the technical work was helped by her relationship with her teachers and her husbands. What else do I want to tell you about Agatha? She was interesting. She her first husband fell in love with somebody who wasn't a Virgo rising, with Saturn in the first house. So somebody was younger and cuter, and this really teed off Agatha, and you can understand that. And so she took her revenge in a very interesting way. She devised a disappearing act. She virtually disappeared. She ran away, and left evidence that a foul plight. I mean, her car was abandoned, her purse was left in the car, and everybody looked at her husband and said, "What did you do to her?" And she was found 10 or 11 days later, hiding off in a wonderful place, having dinner and lunch and enjoying the seashore. Anyway, and Agatha's response to the humiliation of being thrown over for a younger woman was that Mars in Sagittarius and the South Node. I'm leaving. And I'm also going to conduct this scenario so they'll all be suspicious of you, my friend. Actually, and so that they will all be suspicious of you. This Neptune up here, conjunct Pluto, is rules her mask, her descendant. So that's Agatha. Who else do we have? Oh, and Queen Victoria. Queen Victoria had a bunch of kids. She was obliged to have kids, but if you know how Queen Victoria was raised, you will realize why she was not a very good mother. And her sun and moon were both in Gemini. And Gemini is not notorious for being dedicated, devoted, and motherly. And that was Queen Victoria. So that's Moon Phase 1. They're the beginning of an adventure. And all they have to do is get bored with being perfect and take the chance of jumping into life. Anyway, tomorrow I'm going to do Moon Phase 2. And you'll like Moon Phase 2. Moon Phase 2 is where the energy, now no longer a static being, the energy begins at Moon Phase 2. So I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.